Today on Growing Bolder, nearing 100 years old, artist and provocateur Harold Garde's passion for art keeps him going. It's not just the musicians who are still rocking well past their 60s. Lighting engineer Cosmo Wilson shines a light on what's possible.
If you would have asked me 42 years ago when I first started the business what I would be doing when I was 60, I would have never said running lights for AC/DC and Aerosmith. But here I am.
As Maxine Earhart knows, sometimes the most creative act you can perform is within, taking what life gives you and reinventing yourself. Coming up on Growing Bolder.
Hope you need my love, Kurt, just like I need you. Whoa.
We're not made to withdraw from life. We're made to seize each moment and to value every breath. We're made to be bold, to take risk, and to help others. We are the most creative, fearless, passionate being that has ever walked the face of the earth. Don't identify with limitation. Embrace possibility. This is not the beginning of the end. This is the beginning of what's next. This is Growing Bolder. Hi, and welcome to Growing Bolder. I'm Mark Middleton, and today we're going to color outside the lines. Not just because it's fun, but because it's good for us. It's something that we all did as children before they took away our crayons so that we could get serious about the so-called important stuff. Well, it turns out creativity in all of its forms is the important stuff. Research proves that creativity reduces anxiety, depression, and stress. It's been compared to meditation because a creative act of any kind, crafting, painting, singing, sewing, gardening, dancing, acting, all can help focus the mind and calm the body. That's why art as medicine and art and healing programs are now rapidly growing in healthcare systems and nursing homes nationwide. Creative ability has no age limit, and the benefits of creative engagement are not only life-enhancing, but they're also life-extending. I recently caught up with my buddy Harold Garde. Harold is approaching 100. He still lives alone, and he paints almost daily. It's his passion for painting that gets him out of bed every morning and helps him battle back from life's many challenges. At 98, Harold Garde is still filling his walls and those of collectors, galleries, and museums with bold and provocative paintings, even as he recovers from a fall. I want to toast to your health and your success and our friendship.
Thank you for all of that.
We first met Harold when he was in his mid-80s, and his work was beginning to capture the attention of curators everywhere.
And it was very confrontational, very aggressive, and I was like, wow. Who is this guy? He must be, what, 25, 30, out of art school. He really knows what he's doing. He's really great.
Over the past decade, Garde's desire to constantly evolve through creative risk-taking and his refusal to simply repeat what sells enhanced his reputation as a rebellious provocateur.
Every work that's completed is like a scar, because the intention was to do something that far exceeded anything that's finally there. So even though I take pleasure in what I've done, I still have to feel maybe my best work is still to come. Maybe it'll still happen.
Over the years, we've visited Garde at his home, and we've chatted with him at his openings at museums and galleries. He admits to enjoying his later-in-life acclaim, but only because it's a means to an end.
If any of this helps me spend more time in the studio, that's what it's really all about. And but I love it. I mean, I love this kind of thing. I love it, the fact that the wine is good.
Garde thrives on social connection, but he lives alone, and the isolation created by the pandemic was difficult. But as it has for decades, the war of art, the daily problem solving in his studio, has kept him stimulated and engaged.
I have to let the accidents happen on a good day, because when I leave them there, they're not accidents anymore. There's the feeling that if I stay with it long enough, I will have something of which I'm not ashamed. I really don't care on that thing for almost anybody's opinion of what I'm doing.
At 98, what Garde does care for is the stimulation of other artists, something that opens his eyes and stirs his soul.
I just don't want to be bored when I walk into a gallery. It's boring. I mean, it's just dull stuff. What keeps me going? I'm hoping that the next gallery I walk into would have something that will challenge me visually, and either with envy or respect. Maybe both. I want to feel the energy that comes with emotional honesty. I want to see the effort. I want to feel it.
As Garde approaches 100 and flips through images of paintings that he's created over 7 decades, I had to wonder. Do you have a favorite period of your art career, Harold?
Probably now.
In a world in which we're led to believe that creativity and ability diminish with each passing year, Harold Garde continues to prove otherwise.
That's finished. That's kind of my current pride and joy. I think that's a very good painting.
I do too. What are you going to do with it?
Hold on to it. I think that actually, well, on a good day, I think it belongs in a museum.
And if he never picked up another brush, he finally acknowledges that his body of work is significant and consequential.
There's enough there to be able to close the book and say this is it.
And then critics, curators, and collectors will decide if his art is worthy of hanging beside the other great artists of the 20th and 21st centuries. And if it's not,
I hope if it's a very cold night and they build a bonfire, they'll get some warmth out of it.
Harold is filled with elder wisdom. In fact, he's the guy that taught me that creativity is actually problem solving. People who are more creative are simply better problem solvers. They're better at figuring out what works and what doesn't. And that's why creativity is so good for our brains. On this visit in particular, I was blown away by his statement that, quote, "I have to let accidents happen because when I leave them there, they're not accidents anymore." I think that's a great metaphor for life, especially as we age. We have to try different things and meet new people. We have to throw the paint around and allow the accidents to happen. And then, if we leave them in our lives, they're no longer accidents. As I mentioned, we've been following Harold's career closely for years. We attended a show of his work at a prestigious gallery. We were there when his larger-than-life panel piece was installed on the exterior of a major art museum, and we've even broken bread with him at his kitchen table. To watch all of our previous stories on this uniquely American artist, just visit growingbolder.com/GBTV.
Well, it's not uncommon to even fall into a career by accident. And here's what I mean. Ever fantasize about being a rock star? It's kind of up there with pro athlete and movie star in the probably not gonna happen category. But we met a guy who did do the next best thing. Now, he's not a rocker, but he goes on tour with the biggest, most famous bands ever. Only when they ask him to light up, they get lit like nobody's business, because for him, it's all about the lights.
Lighting, it kind of evolved. It wasn't something I went after. Like you said, you don't grow up saying, oh, I want to be a lighting director for rock and roll bands.
Charles Cosmo Wilson is one of the most accomplished lighting directors in rock, illuminating bands like Aerosmith, AC/DC, Def Leppard, Meatloaf, Scorpions, and more. He can still remember the moment 30 years ago at the Olympic Stadium in Berlin when he first realized how special his position was while running lights for the Rolling Stones.
And they're playing, you can't always get what you want. At some point in the song, he wants the audience to sing, Mick Jagger wants. So I bring up all the audience lights. So I look out around me because, I'm just sitting there as they're singing, and everybody's got their hands in the air and everybody's smiling and they're all singing the words, and Mick's up on stage doing this, and I'm looking at this going, I'm even getting goosebumps thinking about it now. How lucky am I to be a part of something that brings so much happiness to so many people at the same time? There's nothing like it.
He's toured with over 40 bands, including Rod Stewart, Foreigner, and Motley Crue. But if rock is a business for the young, You sure wouldn't know it. At an age where many are winding down, Wilson is thirsty for more, loving what he does, loving life on the road, and hoping to keep it going as long as he can.
I mean, I'm the only guy who's run lights for AC/DC for 31 years now. You know, there aren't that many bands, especially of that stature, especially the old bands, the big bands like the Stones, like AC/DC, like Aerosmith, that do the big arenas and stadiums and draw a huge crowd. It's incredible to me that I am one of the few people who do lights for these bands. And you're right, there's a whole stable of young people wanting to do this.
And wanting to take your job.
Well, yeah.
And you're how old now?
I just turned 60 about a month ago. The one thing that the industry does appreciate is experience, because you're not only doing a job, you're dealing with a band, and the band want that kind. It's not just experience in your, lighting experience. It's your experience dealing with rock stars, dealing with fame, celebrities. Also your experience in dealing with complicated situations or problems. When things go wrong, it's like a pilot. The engine goes out. You want a guy that's like 65 years old, has been flying for 40 years.
Aging is great if you've taken care of yourself over the years, but rock bands, touring, and clean living haven't always gone hand in hand.
I mean, you take, AC/DC is one band, but you take someone like Aerosmith, or a band like Aerosmith, who are famous for abusing. They'll be the first one to tell you they did lots of drugs and lots of alcohol. Fortunately, they stopped, a while ago, and they're very healthy now, and they're very well aware. But you're right, I do look at them and go, how long will this last? And we're all mortal, and we're all well beyond what we thought we would be. I mean, if you would have asked me 30 years ago, when I first started, with AC/DC, or 35 years ago, or 42 years ago when I first started the business, what I would be doing when I was 60, I would have never said running lights for AC/DC and Aerosmith. I was 20 years ago, I wouldn't have probably said that, But here I am.
And do you like it as much?
I probably love it more.
And it's good to know the iconic, legendary musicians that he works with are a big part of the reason why.
People that I work for a long time, they become my family. They become as close, if not closer than family. There's Brian Johnson, the singer for AC/DC, this unbelievable, iconic guy that I put on a pedestal. And then there's Brian Johnson, my friend. We can sit back and have a beer and watch an IndyCar race, or a Formula One race, or have a barbecue together.
Are they good people? Are they?
Yeah, they really are. I got to say, musicians, people say. I mean, you hear rumors. They're difficult to work with. They're hard to work with. They're pain to work with. People like, I find this with most musicians, especially Steven Tyler, he sees the whole picture. He sees how important it is for the show. Not just his performance, but the lights that look good, the sound, the effects, everything they do. He sees that whole thing. He's not a control freak in that sense. He is in the sense that he wants to make sure everything is good, but that's why he hires people like me and other people to put in place to do their magic. And people will say he's difficult to work with, but he's challenging in a good way. The best bands that I work for push you beyond the outside of the envelope, and make you think outside the box. Steven's always wanting me to come up with better ideas and some special thing just to make the audience go, wow. They're great people to work with, and they make me do better. And I prefer that kind of a band. This is the crew. The last dinner we had as a big crew, it was the end of tour party.
Despite being surrounded by tens of thousands of people a night, touring can be a lonely experience. Life on the road isn't easy. There are temptations and frustrations. The only way to survive, he says, is with appreciation.
When I go to sleep at night, I appreciate the day I've had. I mean, I'm thankful. That's one thing with my life is gratitude. I try to get that across to my friends. It's about gratitude, it's being thankful. I mean, everybody complains and stuff, but at the end of the day, I'm grateful for everything that happened today, whatever happened that day, And even the bad things, I'll try to garner something out, the goodness out of it, I want to run lights for these bands as long as they continue to play. I mean, what am I going to do after? Will it end? I mean, obviously the older bands, it'll end, but what's I mean, you look at Taylor Swift fill stadiums, there's a lot of younger bands, fill stadiums. Could I do something like that? Very possibly. It's, we'll see what kind of genre of music occurs in the next decade.
Looking forward to the next decade. Shouldn't we all be? Because with Cosmo Wilson running the lights, the future sure looks bright. Well, it really does. You spend time around him and he's so energetic, so positive, it's no wonder the rock stars love him. Plus, he's amazing at what he does. And interesting that he believes that it all starts with gratitude and appreciation. Cosmo Wilson, helping us all see the light.
Every successful person I've ever interviewed or read about all said the same thing. I took a risk. Now, I understand that to mean I walk by faith and not by sight. So what is that? Well, it's a walk in the dark when you don't know what's in front of you and you keep going anyway. Sometimes it's a gut feeling and intuition. Maybe even a wing and a prayer. Whatever you call it, it's still a risk. You have to be willing to take that risk. And when you take a risk, there's always a chance it will fail. Do not, let me repeat, do not let fear of failure stop you from trying again. You succeed or you learn what to do differently. You automatically fail if you don't try. Now, I'm not asking or saying risk everything in an all or nothing bet. That is not wise. Please seek wise counsel before taking a risk of any magnitude. And remember, with every choice, there is a consequence. Be man or woman enough to accept it. Nelson Mandela reminds us, there is not passion to be found in playing small or settling for a life that's less than the one you are capable of living. You are this close. Take a risk and go for it. For Growing Bolder, I'm Cecily Wilson.
As every creative person knows, it's not always the finished product that's valuable. Many times it's what you learn in the process. And in the case of life, it's who we become in the process. One of the gifts of aging is the opportunity to reinvent yourself again and again. From beauty queen to roadie to seamstress to restaurateur, Maxine Earhart has done just that, and she's not finished yet. Here's George Diaz.
Hello there, welcome to Maxine's on Shine.
Maxine Earhart is definitely in charge. She is the face and energy that drives Maxine's on Shine, the funky Orlando restaurant she owns with her husband Kurt. She is a 24/7 force of nature, a stylish former beauty queen, working the dining room as deftly as she did the runway back in the day modeling for Coco Chanel and others.
All my life, I have had an extra amount of energy. No one seems to understand where it comes from. My mom can never understand it either. And even my husband and my son once thought, maybe I should get tested for ADD. But you know what? I did some reading on it and I discovered it's my superpower. And I've learned to live with it. And I became an entrepreneur probably because of it.
As Miss New York in 1979, Maxine embraced all the glitter and glamour. She met celebrities like Bob Hope, Robin Williams, and Sly Stallone. But along the way, she learned life lessons that are applicable to the day-to-day grind of running a restaurant. You show up every day with a smile on your face, feet forward, making friends along the way.
I look at the beauty queen industry the way it was originally meant to be, the way my mother saw it, which was networking. It was an opportunity for women at a certain age and a certain time to get in front of the right people. I think restaurants are still a place where people come and meet and network or come and gather.
Maxine took a winding road in her journey to restaurateur, reinventing herself a few times along the way. She moved to Orlando in 1990 to be with her sister. She worked in the production industry at the theme parks, then ended up as a personal assistant to a woman who owned a design firm. She even sold cinnamon glazed almonds on Church Street.
So it was a whole decade of kind of just chilling out, and then I found like my happiness, my happy place. Like I really liked design. And then I ended up starting my own company where I was making pillows and draperies for model homes. Very happy. Then I met Kurt.
And then another twist in the story, love. She met Kurt at a local bar in 2001. Reflective of their wild, quirky ride, she said she didn't think much of the wine list, the one Kurt had put together. That eventually led them into another relationship, a business one. 11 years later, they signed the papers to establish Maxine's on Shine.
And it was my husband's dream to own a restaurant. I was his second wife, And he had already told me the first wife did not help him fulfill his dreams. So I felt it was kind of like my obligation to be like, okay. And then he wanted to name the restaurant after me, and I was very flattered. And then he made me the logo, and then that made me be in the restaurant business. And he kept saying, oh honey, you're a natural. This is gonna be great.
It hasn't always been great. Far from it. They have been through it all. Financial struggles, a recession, the COVID crisis, and the daily balancing act of intermingling their personal and professional lives. At times, it seemed that the restaurant was going to fail. At times, it seemed that the marriage was going to fail. Sometimes, both.
My parents were married 72 years, and I used to say to them, about after their 50th anniversary, I'd be like, my God, how do you stay together that long? And my mom would be like, well, you have a few good years and you have a few bad years. And I'd be like, well, what do you do during the bad years? She goes, you remember the good years. And so kind of, that's where we're at.
They've managed to make it work through all of it. Part of the reason is that Kurt empowers Maxine to be Maxine. Energetic, eclectic, engaging, and creative.
When you think of restaurants, you don't think of what my job is, which is to make it look good when people walk in the door. I like things to look beautiful. I like people to see beauty when they're looking around. I very specifically am a pain in the ass around here about that. Anybody that works here will tell you, oh God, fix those drapes. Maxine's coming.
Hello, how are you doing tonight? Hi, I'm Maxine. I just wanted to stop over and say hello.
She is front and center, making sure every customer feels special. She is apt to document their presence with a photo op. She has over 100,000 images on her iCloud, along with more than 4,000 videos. Through all her life experiences, Maxine has learned one thing that has proved most valuable in running a successful restaurant. It's not just taking pictures, it's connecting with people.
Hello, how are you? Oh my gosh, how old's the baby?
Almost 6 months.
Sometimes people are coming to celebrate a birthday, a new job. Other times though, people have had a bad day. They maybe lost their job or they got in a little fender bender. It's our job though to make sure before they walk out the door to be happy. That's why they come to Maxine's.
She is easy to pick out at the restaurant. Red framed glasses, hats, big jewelry, big belt, bright colors. Very Paris or New York chic. It's not a work costume. It's her style. It's who she is.
I think what I did is I took my background in fashion and I loved it. And it helped me to embrace who I am, and I learned about my body and what was good. So for instance, I have great legs, so I often wore miniskirts all the time. And I love bold jewelry because I think it's fun, because I like artists. You just have to just be fearless, and not worry about what other people think.
In many ways, she is still a beauty queen. She wears that tiara symbolically, a tribute to her resourcefulness. She is still standing. She is royalty among her loyal customers. Beauty queen, seamstress, restaurant owner. Maxine Earhart has played all those roles and others in what's been a wonderful life.
It is kind of funny. You take your strengths, I think, and your passions with you all through life. And I've always been a creative individual. And apparently my mother said I was always very bossy. So look, I get to be a boss now. But who knew that was going to happen? And when I was 61 years old.
I think we'll all agree that there is absolutely no question that life is going to challenge us. And because creative people like Maxine and Cosmo and Harold are better problem solvers, they're also better able to adjust and adapt to whatever life does throw their way. But here's what you need to know. Creativity is in all of us. It's part of being human. Some are just more easily connected to it, but we all have it. And it's never too late to develop more of it. And don't care what anyone else thinks, because the product of your creativity, your painting, your dance, your quilt, or your piano recital is really unimportant compared to the process of creating it. You might not get the financial rewards of a world-famous artist, but the many health benefits are readily available to everyone. So, figure out a way to express yourself artistically. Tap into your creativity, because that's growing bolder. We'll see you next time.
Support for Growing Bolder provided by
A financial plan should help grow and protect your money. An annuity can help cover essential expenses in retirement. You can find a financial professional to show you how at protectedincome.org.
Watch previous seasons of Growing Bolder plus bonus stories via our new free streaming app. More information at growingbolder.com/TV. And you can get inspired to plan your what's next when you connect with the Growing Bolder community on Facebook. Show the world you're growing bolder with official Growing Bolder products. Growing Bolder tees and hats are available for $25 each. Custom mugs are $15, and inspiring Tear and Share postcards featuring original artwork and bold messages are $15 plus shipping and handling. All items are available at growingbolder.com/shop.